Ethan Cole lay awake on his bunk, staring at the dull, flickering light above him. The cold wind of EOS 9 moaned through the metal walls of the mining colony, shaking the dorm slightly. Nights like this were always lonely. Humans here worked hard, slept little, and often forgot what home felt like. Ethan was used to silence. He was used to being invisible. Then a soft knock echoed in the quiet room. At first he thought it was the wind rattling the door, but then came another, gentle, almost hesitant. 3 taps, then silence. Ethan sat up, his heart beating faster. "Who's there?" he called, his voice rough from disuse. No answer. He grabbed the plasma torch from under his bed, a standard tool for all miners. Slowly he crept to the door. When he slid it open, a sight stopped him cold. A woman, no, something that looked human but not quite. Her skin shimmered like liquid silver. Her hair glowed faintly blue, floating as if underwater. Her eyes were wide, glowing softly, filled with fear and something else, something raw and painful. "Can you please clean me, human?" she whispered. Ethan froze. "What?" She stepped closer. That's when he saw it. Her body was covered in thick black sludge, cracked and drying. The smell was sharp, oily, metallic. Her silver skin flickered faintly beneath the filth, like a broken light trying to shine. I can't move properly," she said, voice trembling. The waste pits overflowed. "My quarters. They sent me away." Ethan's mind raced. She was one of the Zerai, the alien engineers brought in months ago. Brilliant, strange, and completely ignored by the humans. No one spoke to them unless it was work-related. He had seen them in the hallways, but never this close. Never like this. He slowly lowered the torch. "You're hurt," he said gently. She nodded, her glowing eyes downcast. "Please, I don't know where else to go." Ethan looked around the tiny room. There was barely space for one person, a single bed, a small basin, a few rags. Not much, but something in her quiet plea pulled at him. He could not leave her there, not like that. "Come in," he said softly. She hesitated, looking at him as if measuring whether he would really help. Then slowly she stepped inside. The faint hum of her bioluminescent body filled the room. It was beautiful and sad at the same time. Ethan fetched a towel and some water from the basin.
He paused before speaking.
"What's your name?" "Lyra," she whispered. "I was an engineer, before they made us clean the machines." Ethan knelt and began wiping the sludge from her arms. Black goo smeared on his hands, sticky and sharp-smelling. She flinched at first, but said nothing. "Why didn't you go to your people?" he asked quietly. "They locked us out," she said. "Said we were contaminated. Said we should die outside." Her voice cracked and a tear glimmered along her cheek. For a long time, only the sound of water and gentle movements filled the room. Ethan kept cleaning, careful and patient. He felt her trembling, not from the cold, but from fear. Maybe from shame, too. When he finally finished, Lyra's glow returned, faint but steady. She looked at him, her eyes searching, confused. "You helped me," she said softly. "Why?" Ethan wiped his hands on the towel, looking down at the floor. "Because no one else would." She stared at him for a long moment, as if trying to understand a world where someone could care without reason. Then, almost like a whisper, she said, "Humans are strange." Ethan smiled for the first time in a long while. And in that small, quiet room on the lonely moon, 2 unlikely souls found a spark of warmth in the darkness. The room was quiet after Ethan helped Lyra. She sat on the edge of his bed, water dripping from her silver skin, her glowing blue hair still floating softly around her face. Ethan wiped his hands and leaned against the wall, unsure what to do next. Do you feel better?" he asked. Lyra nodded slowly, but her eyes were distant. "Physically, yes, but my mind, it is still heavy." Ethan sat beside her, careful not to touch the wet sludge stains on her skin. "What happened out there? Why were you left?" She sighed, a sound like soft wind through hollow metal. "The humans, the colony leaders, they do not see us as beings, just machines. We are supposed to clean, repair, work, but never live." Her eyes glimmered with sorrow. "The waste overflowed in my sector. I tried to fix it. I could not. They said I was contaminated. Told me to leave, told me to die outside." Ethan felt his chest tighten. He had heard stories of the Zerai being treated badly, but seeing her trembling and alone, and made it real. "That's cruel," he said softly. "It is not cruelty," she said. "It is survival. The colony cannot care for us. We are Different, her voice broke. And yet, I am alive. Because of you. Ethan looked at her, feeling a strange warmth in his chest. Nobody had ever thanked him for anything. He had always been invisible, just another miner. And now, this glowing alien who had never spoken to him before was looking at him with hope. Humans are strange, she repeated quietly, echoing her words from earlier. But sometimes, strange in good ways. Ethan managed a small smile. I guess, sometimes we surprise even ourselves. Lyra shifted uncomfortably. I must return. I cannot stay here forever. Return? Ethan asked. To where? To the outpost. If they let me. If I survive the night, but I cannot do it alone, she paused. Can you help me, human? Just for a little while. Help me survive like before. Ethan hesitated. There were rules, strict rules, about Zerai entering human quarters. He could get in serious trouble. But when he looked at her trembling, glowing form, all rules seemed meaningless. Yes, he said finally. I will help. But you have to trust me. Her eyes softened. I trust you. The night passed slowly. Ethan brought her water, shared the small food rations he had, and tried to learn about her world. Lyra told him about the Zerai cities built from light and crystal, cities that floated on alien oceans. She told him of their work, repairing energy cores, cleaning the toxic machines humans could not handle. Her voice was soft but carried pride even through the sadness. You are very strong, Ethan said at one point. Lyra shook her head. I am not strong. I am afraid. Every day. But fear does not stop me. I must work or I die. That is all strength. As dawn approached, a faint red light crept through the dorm's small window. Ethan realized the colony was waking. Soon guards would patrol. If they found Lyra here, she might be taken, punished, or worse. You need to hide, he said quickly. I'll find a place for you, a safe spot in the lower levels. She looked at him, eyes wide. Why do you care so much? Ethan felt a lump in his throat. Because no one should be abandoned. No one. Not even an alien. She smiled faintly, her glow brightening for a moment. It was fragile, like a candle in the wind. But it was hope. For the first time, Ethan realized that helping her was not just kindness. It was something deeper. Something that made his lonely heart feel alive. But outside the room, the metallic corridors of the colony were waking, and danger was coming with the morning. The first light of EOS 9's twin suns began to creep across the metal walls of the dorm. Ethan could hear the distant hum of machines in the mines, the rhythmic footsteps of other workers starting their day. Every sound reminded him that staying with Lyra here was dangerous. If anyone discovered her, the consequences could be severe. Not just for her, but for him too. He glanced at her as she crouched near the corner, trying to appear smaller, almost fading into the shadows. Her silver skin glimmered faintly, her eyes wide and uncertain. She had not slept properly, her glow weak, flickering like a fragile candle. I need to move you, Ethan whispered. It's too risky here. Guards come this way soon. Lyra nodded silently, trust shining in her glowing eyes. She allowed him to help her stand, supporting her trembling frame. She was much taller than him, but frail, and the black sludge that had not been cleaned completely made her movement stiff. I'll take you to the lower levels, Ethan said softly. There's an old maintenance tunnel. No one goes there. You'll be safe for a while. Lyra's glow brightened faintly at his words. You would do that? For me? Ethan swallowed hard. Of course. Nobody deserves to be left alone. The two of them slipped out of the dorm, careful not to make a sound. The corridor was quiet for now, but Ethan could hear the faint echo of voices and the clanking of metal, other humans going about their morning duties. Every step they took was a risk. As they reached the edge of the dorm, a guard appeared around the corner, his eyes scanning the hall. Ethan froze. Lyra clutched his arm, her glow dimming with fear. The guard's gaze swept past them. Ethan held his breath, his heart pounding like a drum. When the guard finally moved on, Ethan exhaled quietly. Lyra leaned against the wall, trembling. Thank you, she whispered. I don't know what I would do without you. Ethan shook his head. We're not done yet. We have to reach the tunnel. They moved quickly, Ethan leading, Lyra following with careful, slow steps. The lower levels were a maze of pipes, cables, and old machinery. It smelled of oil and rust, but it was quiet, a secret place where no one came. When they finally reached the tunnel, Lyra looked around, her eyes shining with relief. This place. It feels safe, she said softly. Ethan smiled, though his heart was heavy. It's not much, but it's better than out there. Lyra sank to the floor, exhaustion overtaking her. You risked everything for me, she said, her voice trembling. Why, you could get in trouble. Or worse. Ethan sat beside her, resting his hands on his knees. Because no one else will, and because I can't just let you suffer. She studied him for a long moment. Her glow grew warmer, more steady. Humans are strange, she said again, echoing her words from before. But maybe good strange. For a while they sat in silence. Ethan watched her breathing even out, her body slowly relaxing. He realized he had never felt this connected to anyone, human or alien. Lyra had come into his life suddenly, unexpectedly, and yet her presence filled a void he had never admitted existed. Then, a distant sound made him tense, the heavy footsteps of guards echoing through the lower levels. They were searching, probably for him, probably for her. Ethan's jaw tightened. We can't stay long, he whispered. They'll find us if we do. Lyra looked at him, a flicker of fear crossing her face. I trust you. We'll find a way, Ethan nodded. We have to. Whatever it takes. As the suns rose higher, casting cold light into the abandoned tunnels, Ethan and Lyra huddled together. The world outside was harsh, unfeeling, and ready to crush anyone who didn't belong. But in that small, hidden corner, two unlikely allies shared hope, courage, and the fragile beginnings of something stronger. A bond that could defy fear, rules, and even the galaxy itself. The lower tunnels were cold and dark, but at least they were safe, for now. Ethan and Lyra huddled close to a rusted pipe, trying to catch their breath. Lyra's faint blue glow flickered nervously, lighting the grimy walls with soft pulses. We can't stay here long, Ethan whispered. They'll keep searching. Eventually they'll find you. I know, Lyra said quietly, her voice trembling. But I feel safe here, for a little while. Ethan nodded, though worry pressed heavily on his chest. He had never broken rules before, never risked anything, and yet here he was, protecting someone who was not even human. He reached out and touched her arm gently. We'll find a way. I promise. Lyra looked at him, her eyes shining. You care too much. I don't care about rules, Ethan said firmly. I care about people, even if they're not human. A pause followed. Then Lyra whispered, almost to herself. They treated us like we were less than nothing. Like we were tools, not living beings. Ethan felt a wave of anger. They're wrong, he said. You're amazing, Lyra. Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise. For the first time, Lyra smiled fully, her glow brightening. Humans sometimes surprise me, she said softly. But their moment of peace shattered suddenly. A metallic clang echoed through the tunnel. Both froze. A shadow moved in the distance, a patrol guard. Boots heavy against the metal floor, Ethan grabbed Lyra's hand. Quick, he whispered. This way. They ducked into a side corridor, hearts hammering. Ethan knew the maze-like tunnels well, but even he could get lost. Lyra followed, trusting him completely. She moved slower than usual, still recovering, but she stayed close. The guard's voice echoed, calling out, Anyone there? Come out now. Ethan pressed a hand over her mouth. Shh, don't move. The guard's flashlight cut across the walls, illuminating parts of the tunnel. For a tense minute, Ethan held his breath as the light passed inches away from them. Lyra trembled against him, but she didn't cry. Finally, the guard's footsteps faded. Ethan let out a shaky breath. That was too close, he said quietly. Lyra looked at him, fear still in her eyes, but a small smile touched her lips. You saved me. No, Ethan said. We saved each other. They moved deeper into the tunnels, Ethan leading her to an abandoned maintenance chamber. Dust covered the floor and broken machinery littered the corners, but it would be safe, at least for a while. As they settled, Lyra's glow flickered, revealing a deeper shadow on her face. I haven't told you everything, she admitted. Before the colony, I had a life, a home. My family, my people, they believed in me. And now I don't know if I'll ever see them again. Ethan's heart ached. He had always known loneliness, but her words cut deeper. I won't let you face this alone, he said softly. I'll help you. Whatever it takes. Tears shimmered in her glowing eyes. You're human, she said. And yet, you're more than they are. You see me as I am, not just what I can do. Ethan shook his head, trying to hide the lump in his throat. I see you, Lyra. That's all that matters. For a long while, they sat in silence. Outside, the colony continued its harsh routine, unaware of the bond forming in the dark tunnels. Inside, a fragile warmth blossomed between human and alien. In that moment, they were no longer just survivor and helper. They were allies, friends, something stronger, something unspoken that neither dared name yet. But danger was still out there, and Ethan knew the night had only just begun. They were hiding, yes, but the colony would not stop hunting. Every minute of safety was borrowed. And in the cold metal shadows of EOS 9, both Ethan and Lyra understood one truth. To survive, they would have to trust completely and risk everything. The maintenance chamber was quiet, but Ethan's mind raced. Every creak of the metal floor, every distant echo in the tunnels made him jump. Lyra sat close to him, her glowing blue hair draped over her shoulders, her hands trembling slightly. She was tired, scared, but she trusted him completely. We can't stay here, Ethan whispered. They'll search every tunnel eventually. We need to move. Lyra looked at him, worry in her glowing eyes. Where will we go? There's an old transport shaft, he said. It leads outside the colony. If we can reach it, you can leave safely, and maybe we can both get a chance to fight back. Lyra's face paled. Outside? That is dangerous. The open areas. Humans patrol constantly. I know, Ethan admitted. But staying here is worse. If they find you, they'll send you back. Or worse, we don't have a choice. She hesitated, then nodded. Then I will trust you. Lead the way. They left the chamber carefully, Ethan guiding her through the twisting tunnels. Every corner was a risk. Every shadow could hide a guard. Yet despite the fear, there was a quiet determination between them, an unspoken understanding that they had to survive, together. As they neared the transport shaft, a loud metallic alarm blared through the tunnels. Ethan froze. They found us, he said, his voice low but urgent. Lyra's glow flickered wildly. I can't run fast. You don't have to, Ethan said, taking her hands. I'll protect you. Footsteps pounded closer. Ethan felt a surge of fear, but it was quickly replaced by resolve. He moved in front of her, ready to block anyone who tried to stop them. The first guard rounded the corner, eyes wide at the sight of Lyra glowing in the dim tunnel light. Ethan stepped forward, voice firm. Back off! The guard hesitated, surprised by the human's courage. Ethan took a deep breath, then lunged toward a control panel nearby. Sparks flew as he activated the old transport shaft door. Go! He shouted to Lyra. She didn't hesitate. She ran, her glow lighting the dark shaft as Ethan followed closely behind. The metal walls rattled as they descended, the alarm echoing around them. Behind, the guard shouted orders, but Ethan's quick thinking and Lyra's agility kept them moving. Finally, the door at the bottom opened to the outside. The twin suns of EOS 9 bathed the landscape in harsh light. The wind was cold, but freedom lay before them. They paused, catching their breath. Lyra looked at Ethan, tears shimmering in her glowing eyes. You risked everything, she whispered. For me, Ethan shook his head, voice thick with emotion. We risked everything. For each other. I couldn't leave you. For the first time since they met, Lyra smiled fully, her glow strong and steady. Humans, you are strange. But maybe, you are kind too. Ethan smiled back, feeling a warmth in his chest he had never known. Maybe, sometimes humans can surprise even themselves. The alarm still blared faintly from the colony, a reminder that danger was never far. But for this moment they had each other. The cold, harsh world of EOS 9 could wait. They had survived the worst together, and that bond was stronger than fear. As they looked out over the barren, metallic landscape, both knew the journey ahead would not be easy. But for the first time, Ethan felt hope, not just for survival but for something more. Something beyond the rules, Bayo. And fear beyond loneliness. And in that moment, under the twin suns, two unlikely souls, human and alien, found courage, trust, and the first spark of a connection that could change everything. The cold wind of EOS 9 whipped across the barren metal plains as Ethan and Lyra crouched behind a cluster of abandoned machinery. Their escape had been successful, but the alarm from the colony still echoed faintly in the distance. They had gained freedom, but safety was fleeting. We can't stay here, Ethan said, his voice tense. They'll send more patrols. Soon they'll come for you. Lyra's glow flickered with worry. I thought I knew leaving the tunnels would be dangerous, but I didn't expect this much. Ethan placed a hand on her arm, gentle but firm. We've survived worse together. We can do it again. A low hum began to vibrate through the ground. Ethan's eyes widened. They're sending a drone. Scanning for heat signatures. We have to move now, Lyra nodded. I can help. Ethan looked at her surprised. How? I have abilities humans don't understand. I can mask my presence for a short while. Her glow dimmed slightly as she concentrated, merging almost perfectly with the shadows. But it drains me quickly. Ethan's respect and awe grew. Then let's use it. We don't have another choice. Together they moved cautiously across the metal plains, Lyra slightly ahead, her glow suppressed. The drone's red light swept across the ground near them, its sensors whirring. Ethan felt every heartbeat, every breath, but Lyra remained calm, guiding him silently, her trust in him evident even without words. Hours passed. The twin suns of Eos 9 were now high in the sky, casting harsh reflections on the metallic landscape. They found a small cave-like structure, abandoned by miners long ago. Inside it was cold and dusty, but at least it offered shelter from the drone above. Lyra sank to the floor, exhausted from maintaining her camouflage. Ethan knelt beside her, rubbing her arms gently to restore circulation. You're incredible, he said quietly. You saved us both, really? She shook her head, weakly smiling. No, you saved me too. You believed in me when no one else would. That is more powerful than anything. Ethan swallowed hard. Her words hit him harder than he expected. I can't stand seeing anyone suffer, Lyra. Especially you. Tears shimmered in her glowing eyes. You care too much, human. But I am glad you do. I don't feel alone anymore. A sudden explosion outside the cave shook the ground. Dust and small debris fell inside. Ethan and Lyra ducked instinctively. A patrol team had arrived, more aggressive this time. They've found us, Ethan said through clenched teeth. We have to move, and now. Lyra struggled to her feet, her glow returning faintly. I can do more, she said, but I need you to trust me. Ethan nodded without hesitation. I trust you completely. Lyra extended her hands, and a strange wave of energy pulsed from her. The guards outside were thrown back by an invisible force, their comms crackling with confusion. Dust and sparks filled the air. Ethan stared, astonished. Lyra's strength, hidden for so long, now protected them both. We can't stay long, she warned. I'll only manage a few more minutes. You must lead us to safety while I hold them off. Ethan nodded. His heart ached, not just from fear, but from the realization of how much he had come to care for her. I won't leave you, he said fiercely. We survive together or not at all. Her glow flickered warmly at him. Then, let's go, human. Together. And as the patrol team regrouped outside, unaware of the courage and bond forming inside the cave, Ethan and Lyra prepared for the final push. A desperate run for freedom, trust, and the chance to prove that even in a cruel galaxy, hope and humanity could shine brighter than fear. The cave entrance shook as the patrols tried to break through. Dust and sparks filled the air, but Ethan and Lyra had no time to fear. Every heartbeat reminded them that the colony would not stop, that danger would follow them as long as they stayed. But together they had a plan, and trust stronger than any fear. Ready? Ethan asked, his voice steady despite the pounding of adrenaline in his chest. Lyra nodded, her glow now steady and bright. I'm ready. Let's go. They sprinted into the open landscape, the twin suns of Eos 9 casting harsh light on the metallic terrain. Lyra's abilities shielded them from the sensors and blasts of the pursuing patrols. Energy waves pulsed from her, scattering drones and confusing guards. Ethan ran beside her, his focus absolute. Every step, every breath, every glance at her reminded him how much he cared. You're amazing, he shouted over the wind. And you are brave, Lyra replied, her glow intensifying. Humans, you truly surprise me. They reached the old transport platform, half broken and rusted. It had been abandoned for years, but Ethan had studied it long enough to know it could take them off the planet, at least temporarily. With a few careful adjustments, he powered it up, sparks flying as circuits hummed back to life. Can you make it to orbit? Lyra asked. Ethan nodded, fingers flying across the console. We'll make it. Just trust me. She did, her hands brushing his shoulder briefly, a silent promise of trust and gratitude. That touch sent a warmth through him that had nothing to do with the suns above. As the transport lifted off, alarms blared one last time from the colony below. Guards shouted drone's word, but Ethan and Lyra rose higher, leaving the harsh metallic world behind. The colony became smaller and smaller, a cruel machine that tried to crush them but could not. Once in orbit, Lyra let her glow soften, her body relaxing finally. Ethan sat beside her, heart still racing but filled with relief. "We made it," he said softly. "Yes," Lyra whispered. "Because you cared. You didn't leave me. You saw me as I am." Ethan smiled, feeling an unfamiliar warmth in his chest. "I could never leave you, Lyra, not like that. Not anyone like you." She studied him, her eyes shining with quiet wonder. "Humans, maybe we underestimate you, but sometimes you shine brighter than stars." Ethan laughed softly, a sound full of relief and disbelief. "And you are incredible. I've never met anyone like you." For a long while they just sat, looking at the planets and moons of Eos 9 receding below them. The cold vastness of space stretched before them, empty yet full of possibility. They had escaped cruelty, survived fear, and found something no patrol, no rule, no galaxy could take away, and trust, courage, and a bond that transcended species. "I don't know what comes next," Lyra said softly, "but I know. I don't want to face it alone." "You won't," Ethan replied firmly. "We face it together. Whatever comes." She smiled faintly, leaning closer. "Then maybe humans are not so strange after all." "No," Ethan said. "We're strange, but sometimes we are good." In that moment, above the harsh world they had fled, two souls, the human and alien, found freedom, hope, and the truth of something that had guided humans for centuries. The courage to care, the power to protect, and the unbreakable will to rise. No matter how impossible the odds, the transport moved steadily into the dark expanse of space, carrying them away from fear, cruelty, and loneliness. And as they looked at each other, their eyes reflecting starlight and hope, both knew that together they could face anything, because humanity was not just about survival. It was about heart, courage, and the undeniable force of compassion. Ethan reached out, holding Lyra's hand. "We survived," he said. "Yes," she whispered. "And now, we live." For the first time amidst the stars and the vast unknown, hope burned brighter than fear.